Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos. Welcome to Spring Spanish. Yo soy María Fernanda and I am one of los profes de español, Spanish teachers, here at Spring Spanish. And in this video, I'm going to teach you los géneros de los sustantivos. So in Spanish, we have two articles. Es el for masculine or la for feminine. Espera, ¿qué? Wait, what? Sí, así como lo escucharon, just like you heard. We do have genders for the nouns in Spanish. So, for example, la mesa, the table, and it's feminine, and el muro, which is the wall, and it's masculine. And this is thanks to our Latin roots, and we share this characteristic with the Portuguese and French language. Pero gracias a Dios, but thank God, we are not Germans, because they even have a third gender. But at this moment, let's stick only to Spanish. ¿Estás listo? Are you ready? Entonces, sígame. First of all, it is important for you to know that in English, it doesn't exist a gender for each noun. However, in Spanish, la manzana means the apple, la corbata means the tie, el carro means the car, el perro means the dog. Apparently, the can mean el or la. So I suggest you learn the nouns with their article, so you will know if it's el, it will be masculino, and if it's la, it will be femenino. There are some rules and tricky points about learning the gender of each noun, but I will try to make your life easier with these useful tips if you are in the process of learning Spanish. First tip, it's to paint them with a color. For example, this is a really good technique where you imagine a color in your mind and take, for example, red as feminine and blue as masculine. Therefore, you can imagine a red apple, a red tie, a blue car, or a blue dog. And this mnemonic device will actually make your life easier to recognize or assume the gender of the noun. Second tip, the ending rule. It is most likely that if it ends with an O, it is masculino. For example, el libro, el libro, el teléfono, el teléfono. And if it's a feminine word, usually they will end with an A. And we have recognized also 6 endings that could be related to a feminine word. Those are sión with an S, sión with a C, dad, tad, tooth, and umbre. Let's have a look for those examples as well. La cascada, la cascada, la infusión, la infusión, la canción, la canción, la ciudad, la ciudad, la libertad, la libertad, la solicitud, la solicitud, la certidumbre, la certidumbre. There's some exceptions to this rule. That's why I always tell you, like before, learn the nouns with their gender. That will make it easier for you to know if it's feminine or masculine. But let's have a look at those exceptions I'm referring to. For example, it is most likely it's masculine if it has a Greek origin and ends with ma, pa, and ta. Examples are el problema, el problema, el mapa, El planeta. El planeta. And there's some words that end with O and still feminine, such as la mano, la mano, la radio, la radio. This next exception is muy importante. It's very important because this is a matter of sound. The words starting with a, they have the a sound as their first syllable. So we use the article el to start with. It wouldn't sound correct if we use the article la. However, these words are strictly recognized as feminine. Let's have a look. For example, the word water in Spanish is agua. And it wouldn't sound correct if we say la agua. Therefore, we use el agua. Another example, el águila, el águila, el alma, el alma. And those words starting with an H and A, they have the same pronunciation of A because H doesn't make a sound in Spanish, just like the word hola. Therefore, we have to use the article el as well for those words starting with H and A. For example, el hacha, el hada. Pero no te vayas, but don't go yet, because at the end of this video I will show you how to apply adjectives to those strictly recognized feminine words that start with L. Vamos a continuar. Let's continue. Third tip, the gender rule. So it is most likely that if you are using the same word to refer to a male or a female, if it's, for example, a profession, probably you just have to add an A to the end to become a feminine word. Or if it's a noun that is neuter, then in that case you will just change the article. Go and check out my video of the article so you know and understand what I mean. For example, el profesor becomes la profesora. La profesora. El doctor becomes la doctora. La doctora. El abogado turns to la abogada. La abogada. And for those professions that are recognized as neuter words, then we just change the article to become feminine or masculine. Let's do and see an example. El artista, la artista, la artista. El estudiante, la estudiante, la estudiante. And this actually applies also to the animals that do not have a word for their females. And for this, usaré mi ejemplo favorito. I will use my favorite example, which if you have seen my videos number, you will know by now that I have 13 perros, I know, 13 dogs, and I'm a dog lover. So for this matter, I will use el perro, la perra, la perra. El gato, la gata, la gata. Fourth tip. There is not a specific rule about learning the genders of the noun. That actually would be very hard to do, even for me as a Spanish speaker, because we learn by practicing and applying, and you will notice that after a while of using them, you will automatically know which is the gender of each noun, without even thinking about the rules. This is how natives do as well. If you use them several times in writing or speaking with someone or yourself, they will start to sound right. And this is how actually we, as native speakers, learn Spanish. We just end up having a feeling because you use them so often that instead of memorizing the gender, we just end up saying that sounds correct. And this is actually how we'll teach Spanish in our Spring Spanish Academy. So don't give up y sigue practicando. Keep practicing. A few fun facts to add. If your word is feminine or masculine, then the adjective should be in the same gender that you are using. For example, la manzana roja, el listón rojo, el segundo día, la segunda hora. Did you notice that I changed the adjective according to the gender of the noun? Good job then. That's great, and that actually makes sense, right? Well, at least in Spanish does. Ow, but wait, remember I told you about those words that are strictly recognized as feminine, but we use the article el to make it sound correct? Well, because those are feminine, then the adjective must be in feminine too. I'm going to give you some examples so you can apply those on your Spanish learning. El agua fría. El agua fría. El águila blanca. El águila blanca. El hacha café. El hacha café. Muy bien. Good job. Now we can test you. Let's see how many of these words you can remember the article. Let's give it a try. Manzana. La manzana. Perro. El perro. Agua. El agua. Canción. La canción. Gato. El gato. Muy bien. Now you have the essential tips to find out the gender of each noun in Spanish. Don't forget to check out the other video I made for you about the articles in Spanish, because they come together as a set, so it will be very important for you to learn those as well. Don't forget that we have Spanish videos for beginners made by me and the other Spring Spanish teachers here at our Spring Spanish channel. So feel free to go and check them out too. In general, in this video, I gave you a lot of rules. But as I mentioned before, the easiest way to learn Spanish is do not overthink about the rules. Because the correct word gender or the verb conjugation, it will roll out from your tongue effortlessly once you have practice and know how to apply them. And this is how we teach in our Spring Spanish Academy. If you're interested in learning about that method and the way we teach it, then check out the description box. I left there a link for you where you can go directly to our website and you can have access to our free Spanish training where we demonstrate you how we teach with this method. Also, you will have access to free Spanish lessons straight from our academy. So if you're really interested and you're serious, just go down, click in the link below, and me, la profesora, I will see you next time. Adios! Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and share the videos with your friends.